This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Granic Allen. 2025 has been a year Canadians won't soon forget. From political shakeups and heated debates to Trump tariffs and other economic pressures to protests and social controversies, the country has faced it all, challenges that sparked outrage, pride, and everything in between. Well, tonight we're going to look back at the stories that captured the nation's attention and discuss what they mean for Canada as we enter into 2026. And joining me in studio to break down the trends, tensions, and turning points that define the year is political contributor with the News Forum Daily, David Clement. David, thank you so much for coming on. As I rattled through what happened in 2026 and looking at putting together topics for this show, I was like, oh, right, that happened, happened. But one thing that I never forgot happened, because it's still very much with us, are these darn tariffs.
Yep.
That really kind of kicked off December 2024 and then just kind of sent us on this trajectory for the new year.
Well, it became, right, we're talking about the greatest trading relationship in the world between two countries, and we're talking about that getting upended, which felt like at a whim, right? And I think that is definitely the story of 2025 because it's completely defined so much of the political context domestically as well. You look at all the provincial responses, Doug Ford and the ad in the U.S., the pulling of U.S. alcohol, the kind of real strain of anti-Americanism in Canadian politics, which always existed to some extent, but now has really kind of been thrust to the forefront. Canadian tourism in the U.S. going down as a result significantly. I would argue that it was the defining factor in the last election, right?
It permeated like every topic. And
yep.
I guess I don't recall, because I was, in the single digits as a child when we were doing the free trade negotiations in the 80s. So I never had seen in that moment this real anti-American sentiment, the elbows up movement.
Yes.
In fact, I'd never seen Canadians sort of so defined themselves by being, well, we're not them.
Yes. Yeah. And that had always existed. Like you see it in the healthcare debate, you see it in the guns debate. It's when Canadians become proud, and they become proud in this really strange way of, well, we're not America. It's like, okay, this felt totally different, right? The only thing I can liken it to was when the Iraq War was going particularly badly and the tide turned and Canadians were very outspoken and like, we dodged a bullet, we didn't go, rah, rah, we're very proud of that. It's the only thing that I can think of, at least in my lifetime, where that anti-Americanism has kind of been pushed to the forefront.
So I guess the question that's probably at the forefront of most Canadians' minds is, are we handling this file well? Last year, so December 2024, I remember seeing Justin Trudeau flying down to Mar-a-Lago to discuss things with Donald Trump. Then all of a sudden, this rhetoric about the 41st state, or 51st state rather, came into be. How much has changed in 12 months is insane. It's crazy. But he was the prime minister that started dealing with Trump when this was first on our radar.
Yep. Are we dealing with it well? I would argue probably not. I mean, the election was defined by Carney saying, I'm going to get a deal done by July or whatever his threshold was. Obviously, we don't have that. We're going into the review of the USMCA. We now have a list of demands from the Americans, which, from my perspective, are actually all pretty reasonable. Once you get rid of the kind of hoopla of the 51st state and you remember that Trump is Trump and he's going to be Trump until the day he dies.
You can't change the man.
No.
He's all about the art of the deal, so therefore he wants a deal and he wants to negotiate.
Yeah. And they've laid out some pretty concrete issues and things that I think are reasonable to have a conversation. So the answer to are we handling it well? If the benchmark was we're going to have a deal done before the USMCA review, well, then we failed because we don't. And we're going to go into that review now. And in theory, we could have gotten all of that out of the way already.
Right. That would have been nice. It's been interesting watching the provincial premiers maneuver and self-advocate rather than relying on the federal government, especially during the tumult of the election. Obviously, in Ontario, this was a provincial election. We'll get into that later on. But who would have thought that 12 months ago, we would have been on the precipice of a federal election?
Yeah.
Well, when we return from this commercial break, we're going to discuss the shocking federal election and the resignation of Justin Trudeau. We'll be right back.